You're listening to Tabletop Arcanum, a podcast dedicated to learning and exploring the hobby of tabletop gaming. Your hosts are Justin Taylor and Richard Geese, so sit back and relax as we talk, discuss, and joke our way through the hobby we love so much. Town overrun by monsters. Cryptids from all across America have been drawn to the unknown forest to terrorize the community, working together to defend your home from Bigfoot, the Jersey Devil, the Chupacabra, Mothman, the Ozark Howler, and the Banshee of the Badlands. Each monster presents a unique challenge that the players can adjust the difficulty by playing a new group of monsters each game. Save Cross Creek before terror overwhelms you. Welcome to Tabletop Arcanum. This is Justin, and I'm bringing you a review of Horrified American Monsters. This is the second Horrified game and brings a slightly different flavor and some different mechanics than the traditional Universal Monsters Horrified. The gameplay is 1 to 5 players, has a 60-minute runtime, and is MSRP'd at $35. So this one brings the American monster cryptids. So you have the Chupacabra that comes out of Central America, you have Bigfoot, you have the Mothman, and all of these different creatures have their own specific sets of rules and mechanics of how they work, which are all different than the mechanics from the Universal Monsters. Now, I do want to call out that Horrified and Horrified American Monsters are not compatible with each other. While they use a very similar rule set, and the mechanics of what you're doing per turn and how you're kind of interacting with the game do remain the same. The monsters do vary, the boards vary a little bit, and so do the items. So, with all of that, they are standalone games on to each other that are using a very similar engine to power them. We did do a review of Horrified. You can see Ricky and my thoughts on that one. I have since revised some of my thoughts. I'm still not a huge fan of the game particularly, but I wanted to give American Monsters a try to see if it changed anything up for myself that I would actually appreciate it more. Happy to say I do like American Monsters a little bit more than traditional Horrified. So things Horrified American Monsters does well. It captures the theme of you're looking for this cryptid monster. They have a unique rule set that you're following along with. So whether you're trying to capture goats to lure the Chupacabra, or capturing pictures of Bigfoot and follow him around, they lean into the theme of each monster and create mechanics specifically to mimic what that monster's legends are like. Likewise, all of your characters have a special unique power that gives them a little bit of a competitive advantage versus the other characters, but still maintains a friendly co-op nature. Some of the components in Horrified American Monsters are upgraded. There actually is a very nice token bag for all of the items that can be spawned. Overall, just gives a slightly improved experience. The monsters themselves, I feel, are a little bit more complex than the original Horrified Monsters, which was something I was looking for when I was playing the original Horrified. Most of the monster mechanics were very easy to predict and easy to find the solutions for how to optimize against them. American Monsters give a little bit more of a challenge in that perspective, as they behave a little bit more erratically than the other game's counterparts. So I do appreciate it for that, and I think it is an improvement in the game. The minis, cards, and boards are all heavily themed on there and has that very nice artistic style that was in both versions of the game. By not using the water spaces in this game, it does not create any sort of confusion like the Creature of the Black Lagoon offered in the first game, and I appreciate having a board game that opens up in such a way where the back of the board actually is a map showing a lot of the cryptids and where they are geographically, and then the town maps that you play on is on the other side. So all pieces of the game board are being used in some capacities. Most of it is for theme and flavor, and that is what Horrified does very well, is it keeps that theme and flavor throughout. Most of the things you're doing will make sense and be heavily themed towards whether that action, whether that item, or that cryptid that you are hunting. Difficulty is a lot easier to scale in this game in the sense that because the mechanics are unique for each of the monsters, they do have a difficulty rating with them to make sure you're looking at it. Now, Horrified still has some opportunities. It is still on the light side of games, so if you're looking for a more deep strategy co-op challenge, there are definitely more complex strategy co-op games out there for you. Bothered me a little bit is there is a light reference of the rules of each cryptid on their card, and the rulebook has a deeper explanation of them. However, some of them, like Bigfoot, have a lot more complex rules that you need the rulebook for, even while playing the game, and they could have included some of those aspects in the reference card for the monster, so that it is not necessarily going back to the book every other turn to make sure that you're playing the monster right. One final thought on opportunities: I would have liked to see compatibility between the games a little bit more, to have the mix and match between the monsters, which would have given you value for having both in your collection. I'm not 100% sure how that would have been able to be easily pulled off, but it would have been a nice thing to have than having to pick which flavor of Horrified is your flavor. Overall, it is difficult to recommend that you would want both copies of Horrified in your collection, as they both scratch relatively the same itch. American Monsters does it a little bit better for me, than leaving less to be desired than the original Universal Monsters edition. All in all, if you're looking for a lighter co-op game that you can kind of get in, get out, and play relatively quickly, or with a range of skilled players, Horrified does answer that solution for you, and at the $35 price point, you get quite a bit of game for your buck at that point. That has been Tabletop Arcanum's review of Horrified American Monsters. I hope you've enjoyed this episode. Make sure to follow us on our social medias. That's Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube. As always, thanks for listening, and happy gaming. You've been listening to Tabletop Arcanum, produced by Justin Taylor. This episode is hosted by Justin Taylor. Mixing and editing by Richard Geese. Original theme by Paul Moore and Isaac Gilbert. Check the description for this episode's featured background music. You can follow us on most social media platforms. Be sure to like, subscribe, and follow, and leave us a review if you would. As always, thanks for listening.